All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of the Integrity Racing Show. I'm your host, Todd Thomas. We got a little bit something different for everybody here tonight. Since it is All-Star Week, we have an All-Star lineup ready for you to kind of talk about the 2016 season that we've had so far. We're going to talk about them and their seasons, the team aspect of our racing. We've got somebody from different teams throughout the Integrity Racing League, so should be a lot of fun. If you look down, a quick introduction. If you look at the bottom of the screen, left to right, in this order, will be Brandon Kirkman is going to be joining us tonight. Julio Terzado from Aegis Motorsports will be here with us. Marcus Lambert will be joining us. Michael Dewell and the entire Dewell family will be making an appearance. And then also Carlos Fonseca will be joining us from Team Tifosi. Again, I'm your host, Todd Thomas, and then all the way on the right there is Jacob Fyfe, the Integrity Racing Show owner and admin. So where we're going to start is we're just going to have a roundtable discussion. And Brandon, I want to start with you first. Kind of give us your thoughts on the 2016 season Integrity Racing League so far.
Yeah, thanks, Todd and Jacob, for having me on here. Being a rookie going into the Daytona race for the first start of the season, really didn't know what to expect going into the first part of the season and how the season would play out. But I've got to say I've been pretty impressed, and it's exceeded my expectations personally. It's easy to admit we've hit a rough stretch over the past few weeks, but even in those tough races, we have had some good races within those short runs. But I've been impressed with what I've seen so far and how it's played out, and I'm definitely looking forward to how the rest of the season plays out.
All right, and Dewell, your thoughts so far?
Yeah, I mean, we've had a pretty good season. Lots of good racing, up and down. A lot of incidents, a lot of cautions, a lot of things that we were involved in that didn't quite want to be involved in. That's racing, though. Being around everybody, I mean, most of these guys, I've been around for a long time, raced them, used to them. So it's been a little of a learning curve per se, because the newcomers coming in a little bit more aggressive than I'm used to, and that's coming from me. But other than that, we're just trying to survive, try to make the chase on points. I don't think we're going to get a win this year unless it's a plate track, and then just try to keep the nose clean and watch the cautions.
All right, and Carlos, if I'm not mistaken, you've already got a pole this season.
I don't remember where, though, but yeah, and besides that, though, I've had a pretty rough season. That's just because I've been making stupid mistakes of getting involved in stuff and other crap like that, but it's actually been pretty fun regardless of where I'm running. I'm somehow running, what am I, like 19th points? I don't know, something like that. Either way, I don't know. It's been fun.
All right, then Marcus, you've been up towards the front. Your entire team's had a pretty good season so far. We'll talk about your team in just a minute. But you're a teammate with Andrew Fash, who's been kind of dominating the season, but you've been able to run up front and get you some good finishes already this year.
Yeah, the whole season has been up and down, I guess. That first week, Daytona was a really fun race, and I had a pretty crazy finish and finished 4th. And then the very next week, I D and Q, and then like 2 weeks later, I finally win a race. But the season as a whole with the league, it's been a lot of fun. It's most of the same guys. The new guys coming in are finding their place. Some guys are up front, some guys are mid-pack, some guys are at the back. I think just the big thing that I've gained from this season is the fact that I have to actually put in practice and turn laps, because like at a track like Dover, I didn't turn any laps until the Q session, and I struggled to run top 20 the whole race, whereas races where I've put in practice, I've had much better results. So I'm in the chase personally with a win. So now I'm just trying to focus on every single race that has a second race in the chase.
All right, and Julio, Team Aegis hosts a practice session for everybody in the league every Sunday night. I know a lot of race members, including myself, have taken advantage of that and enjoyed it. Kind of give us your thoughts on the season that's already taken place behind us.
Well, first off, thank you very much for inviting me over for this conversation. I'm definitely looking forward to talking with everyone in reference to it. Basically, for me, the season's been pretty much down, and right now I'm starting to get my stride. I'm more of a consistent driver. One of the things we have David Washington, who is our team leader and driver. He insists on practice, track time, get that seat time, and that's what we're doing. We do practice sessions throughout the week, including Sundays. And right now, pretty stoked that we have one of our members, Brian Terry, it's right now in the chase. And for the rest of the season, my objective is just to continue to race. Me also being a rookie, I still got to work on the consistency and trying to at least get into that mid-pack. Well, more like try to get into the races because I am a terrible qualifier.
All right, and Jacob, want to get a lot of those guys mentioned new drivers that have come in. We've got a lot of new blood that's kind of joined the Integrity Racing League. To my knowledge, I don't think we haven't had a single week so far where we haven't sent drivers home. So a lot of new blood, a lot of new drivers coming in. From a league administrator standpoint, what have you seen from the new drivers that have entered the league this year?
I've seen range. I think it's a big part. You mentioned we've sent drivers home every week. We've sent a lot of good drivers home. I think Marcus mentioned back at Atlanta where he went home. He was the race winner from that race a year ago. So a lot of fast drivers, obviously, and it also leads to tighter racing and tighter packs because you don't have. Usually when you have 43 cars and it's just 43 cars or 40, whatever the number is, it can be kind of get a little spread out and you have a little more space. So right now, when you have 43 of the fastest guys qualifying in, they're qualifying in right on top of each other. So that makes for very competitive racing, which I think everybody's looking for, but it also makes it a little interesting as well. You have drivers who, maybe used to being a little further up front than they are in this league, and maybe causes a little bit of impatience here and there, and maybe causes some of the cautions that we've seen, at least in recent races anyway. So hopefully as the season progresses, and we'll kind of talk about it here a little bit more later, things will kind of level itself out and kind of calm down, and we'll get back to some of the stuff we're used to here in the league.
All right, and we've had a lot of good racing, and one thing that's been exciting about the Integrity Racing League is we are sending people home, so we are getting the pace is ticked up a little bit. So Brandon, you've been somebody that's new to the league, and you can kind of give us that fresh eye perspective. As far as competition level and speed level, was this what you were expecting, or did it kind of catch you by surprise and you had to play a little bit of catch up?
To be honest, it actually caught me by surprise. I've only been on iRacing for about a year, and I've had success in the fixed races and some of the NIS races. But coming in, you feel like you're fast by yourself running the test sessions, but you hop into a qualifying session with everybody that's fast, and it can really catch you by surprise. And it really did Talladega by missing the field by, I think, 1/1000th of a second. So if you're not on your A game, and if you're not running some practice laps, that cutoff line could really catch up and bite you pretty quick. But it's really made me a better driver, to be more consistent, to hold a better line, etc. So while it has been challenging, it has paid dividends in some other races as well, and I'm still kind of getting my feet wet with the league races and finding my place there.
All right, and we do have we're in the point we have been sending drivers home, and we mentioned that Carlos, you had the pole at Atlanta earlier this year. And you're known as somebody that's really good on a really good hot lap. You spend a lot of time. You put out the iRacing guides each week on the forums where you kind of give people a heads up. You're known as somebody that is a good qualifier. So what advice could you maybe give to those people that are struggling to make races on a consistent basis?
Well, one thing I can say first, the most important thing would be not getting a 0x, because that's actually what's been sending some people home in the past few races from what I saw, because my teammates were able to get in because, they had a mediocre lap my teammates have, and and they just counted on someone touching the wall, and that's the biggest point of advice I can really give too. I can't just look at the track guides. I'll put them up every Monday, so go visit my channel on YouTube, youtube.com/chewiesci55, and that should take you to my channel for those. It's every Monday, so yeah.
Okay, and let's go ahead and kind of pivot towards the team dynamic. We have 7 different drivers here on the program tonight, from 6 different teams. So we got a lot of different perspectives on how that has worked out. Marcus, you're on the team Lockdown Racing that leads the team standings currently, the Elton Golf and Batting Teams Challenge. You've got a win earlier this year. Obviously, your teammate Andrew Fash is the points leader. Nick Ward, I don't know if Ward has a win or not, but I think he's been up there towards the front. In fact, I know that he doesn't have a win now that I look at the standings. But a lot of fast drivers on that team. What can you kind of tell us about the season so far for Lockdown?
The season for Lockdown has really been a success when you look at it as a whole. I think we've all had 2 or 3 bad races, but I think the reason we have such a lead in the points right now is because me and Andrew got off to essentially the best season start that we could have asked for. We were both 1-2 in the points until I think week 9, and our average finish between the two of us 8 races into the season was I think 2.5. So we were having a pretty stellar start to the season. But I think over the past couple of weeks, I think the big thing was I felt like grabbed onto the new build with the lower downforce and whatnot. I felt like we grabbed onto that pretty quickly. Whereas now everybody's getting on the same page. So I mean, even when we finish top 10, with the way the points are working now, that gap back to the other teams is falling really quickly. And I mean, we have 7 points over the other teams, but within the teams behind us, I think there's 4 or 5 of them separated by 1 point. And like I said, that gap is closing every week. So I think we're sitting comfortable for now, but by the end of the season, it's gonna get pretty rowdy, and I'm looking forward to it.
All right, Julio, I want to kind of get your thoughts on somebody who does kind of oversee a team with Aegis Motorsports. You've got a driver that does have a win. That team aspect of iRacing and in IRL in general, what do you think about it? Has it helped you and the drivers around you from Aegis? What are your kind of thoughts on the team aspect that we've seen really kind of take hold in IRL?
Absolutely. One of the best things about the team aspect is just all the different kind of people that you meet. Actually, Aegis is a strong team of 8. We actually race in another league, RSR Real Sim Racing, that races on Monday, where we have our 4 top drivers, including our lead driver, David Washington, race there. And you just, with what you learn and what they're able to teach you, one thing, of course, I'm going to probably preach about it. I'm like David Washington's #1 fan, but he's a great teacher. And if it wasn't for him, if I never would have met him, I wouldn't be in the position I am right now. He's taught me how to be consistent, tire wear, proper lines, and he painstakingly watches over not just me, but we have a total of 10 members on our team. And the cool thing is that Aegis originally started off as just 4 friends that joined a league and said, hey, we need to make a team. And it's like, okay, well, we need to come up with a name. And then after that, Aegis came by, and we had a logo, and the logo's gone through various generations, and we're still going strong for 2 years. And Facebook, we even have T-shirts too, which is something new that I was going to announce. Which check out our Facebook, Aegis Motorsports, and also Twitch TV.
All right, and Dewell, you started 2 to Green 2 years ago, towards the start of the 2015 NIS season. So somebody that started a recent team, seen a little bit of transition in the team. The team has kind of taken off as far as numbers go. You got a couple of drivers that have had good seasons so far in Integrity. Tyler Thurs got a win at the Daytona 500, so he's locked into the chase. Some other knocking on the heels, So kind of talk about 2 to Green and kind of the team aspect and what you like about that team aspect in Integrity.
Well, we're really pleased with the team aspect, because it kind of takes away from the one driver going out every week and just dominating and winning. Now it's more about how is the team doing as a whole. So what we're doing at 2 to Green anyway, which we've been for the most part pretty successful, is that the drivers that are falling behind, we're kind of encouraging them to stay with the program. If they get wrecked 20 laps in, spend the time, get your 30 minutes of damage fixed, go out there, run some laps, gain some more points. It helps as a team. So we're really pleased with that. Yeah, Tyler's got him his win. Even you, Todd, you and Jay both right there, 9th, 11th, somewhere in that frame. You're right there in the show. We got a couple of guys that are kind of mid-packing it right now. But hopefully, as the season progresses in the summer and towards the end of the beginning of the chase, we'll have some more drivers that can maybe kind of work your way more towards the points, not worry so much about the wins, but just worry about a good, solid finish and help the team as a whole.
All right, and Brandon, I think you can give us a pretty cool perspective on this because you're on the Integrity Racing team for the purposes of the Elton Golf and Batting Team Challenge, but I'm not sure if you were on a team before that. So maybe you could tell us if you were on a team before that, and if not, how you've learned from your teammates, what the discussions have been, what you've enjoyed from that aspect of being on that team for the Elton Golf and Batting Championship.
Yeah, coming into the league, I was not on a team actually, and was kind of doing the hot laps, doing preparation on my own, which was a challenge. You know, like I mentioned earlier, you run the practice laps and you think you're pretty solid, and you hop in with some other guys and you find out maybe not so much. Being brought into the Integrity Racing team has been a huge asset to my preparation personally. It's been nice to bounce some ideas off of Jacob and some other guys on the team. You know, see what our lap times are, what our long run times are. Preferred lines, stuff like that. So it's been a huge help for me, and it's really helped me qualify for some of these races that I may not have made otherwise.
All right, and so we've talked about the positives of a team aspect, and there can be some drawbacks and some things just to be concerned about. And Jacob, as a league admin, you're constantly getting complaints about drivers, and sometimes that breeds team against team controversy. We won't name any names here tonight, but as a league admin, how do you kind of balance that? Everybody's kind of gravitating to a team. We created this Elton Golf and Batting Challenge to try to encourage people to join teams and kind of build that team atmosphere. How do you make sure it doesn't get too far out of hand and make sure that we have that positive aspect, and maybe we try to limit the drawbacks of that?
I'm calling everybody out tonight. No.
Bring it!
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's definitely a hard balance. The whole idea behind the team challenge was to build team camaraderie. Basically, I think Brandon brought up a good point. You know, when we started in the Integrity Racing team, you know, it was based on working on this challenge, but my thought was when bringing members in is bring different types of members. It's not necessarily me hand-picking the top, you know, 5 drivers I could find in the point standings. It's, you know, more or less, okay, you know, Brandon's a rookie in the league this year. You know, William ran with us last year. James has come back to the league after a couple years of being gone. So just different people, and I think in the sense that I would imagine the teams are coming together individually and are working or are finding ways to working well together and are encouraging each other to run better in the races and to finish the races is a plus. And I think that's gone well. But I also think with it, team pride, if you will, has come into play somewhat. And you know, we're all competitive, and that's understandable. But I think sometimes, in an effort to obtain your individual and team goals, sometimes aggressiveness and personalities can get in the way, and that's a nice way of putting it. Which, I mean, it's happened. It's a part of racing. That's just the honest thing about it. You know, it happens, but it's my job as an admin, as well as the other admins who are with me, to regulate that and try to have it come out in the proper fashion. And there is a proper way to do it, and there's a wrong way to do it. And hopefully, as we go on, because it's learning, the whole team challenge is a learning experience for us as well. It's not something we've ever done in the league before. So, you know, hopefully, as we go forward, we're going to learn ourselves and implement the best way to make the team challenge and the racing as a whole a successful product.
You know, and one thing I just want to throw in quick 2 cents. One thing that I've always been, you know, cognizant of is whenever you get into these team situations, there's a couple things that always tend to happen. One is people get charged as guilty by association, and then 2, people always feel like they have to back each other up, and it kind of puts people in a corner. It's just something you have to be aware of whenever you're talking about those issues. So let's go ahead and pivot. I'm going to go ahead and put the point standings up here for this year. You should see the point standings on your screen there. Carlos, you're currently sitting 14th in overall points. 16 drivers get into the chase. And while you currently sit 14th, it's important to note that Brian Terry, who's not in the top 16, is going to take up a chase spot as he's won a race already this year. So he's locked in as long as he makes his 14 start. So Carlos sitting 14th, kind of near that bubble. What's your goal for the remainder of the year to try to make sure you do get into that chase at the end of the season?
Well, one thing is probably going to start taking it easier at the beginning of races, trying to survive because, well, to get a finish, you got to have a car. And most of the time, the past few weeks are just bad luck, wrong place at the wrong time, or in the right place at the wrong time. So, yeah, I'm just trying to get better finishes, trying to finish this out because, as you see, those points really are close there, too, in that part of the standings.
Absolutely. So that's the viewpoint of somebody that's on the bubble. Carlos is trying to make his way into the chase. Whereas Marcus, you talked about this a little bit earlier. You've already got a win. So you kind of mentioned earlier you're just concentrating on those races, tracks that maybe have a chase race. So kind of talk from the viewpoint of somebody that does have a win, how does that affect how you drive the rest of these races?
It definitely makes everything a little bit more relaxed, I guess. There's not so much pressure on me to necessarily go out there and get a win because with as competitive as this league is, I mean, there's going to be some fast guys that just aren't going to make the chase this year. But I think the big thing for me and anybody else who's in the chase is, like I said, just focusing on those chase races because I think, and my favorite thing about this league is there's probably 4 drivers that are top tier. Those guys are fast every single week. But then, you get the right race, case in point, Kansas, Matt Busa, Andrew Fayash, both taken out in wrecks in the first 50 laps. That releases just this floodgate of, I'd say, 25, 30 drivers that, on their good weeks, are capable of winning a race. And, I mean, I was in the booth for the Kansas race, and just watching that race, it was just really interesting to see how many different people on a week-to-week basis, and that changes because I know, like Todd, you had really exceptional races at Bristol and Kansas, whereas other weeks, maybe not so much, and it goes for everybody. But I think really, some people look at those top-tier drivers and think that they can't beat them, but with the way the chase system works and the way all of those drivers are, like Fyfe said earlier, just in such a close bunch when it comes to skill, I think anybody who makes Homestead has a chance at winning it. Case in point, last year the chase came down to a wreck on the last lap on the restart, and that was a pretty hectic finish. So, yeah, I think just as a driver who's already in, there's definitely a weight off my shoulders, but obviously I still want to win because wins are hard to come by in integrity, so anyone you can put on your resume is pretty cool. And then definitely want to focus on chase tracks.
Yeah, I think one thing that you said there that really kind of hits hard for me is you don't have to be better than Andrew Fayash every week to make the chase. You have to be better than Andrew Fayash, Matt Busa, or just get lucky once. And if you can just do it once in 26 chances, you're going to be locked into the chase. And Julio, you're looking at that. You're not currently in a position where you would make the chase in points. Do you try to take risks at one of these races? Maybe we try to steal one with some fuel mileage or some unique pit strategy. How do you go about that?
As of right now, I'm going to try my best to do not. I don't like to take risks. I may try to keep it as consistent as possible. As of right now, we just go in with a basic strategy. We stick with it. I'm still focusing on the long runs, which is something that I'm slowly but steadily improving on. But I want to take a note that you talked about at the beginning. Brian Terry, aka BT, took a win. So proud of my boy. We practiced a lot that track actually. During that Sunday practice, BT and I, we went 10-lap stints to check out our tires every single time, just like David Washington tells us to do. And we're getting something, and that's really showed our finish, first, and of course I finished in 5th. Which is actually one of the best finishes I've had. Actually, I raced in other leagues ever, and I was racing with you guys. It was so much fun, and this is where like the team aspect comes in because I know Brian Terry is going to be racing for the chase, and it's as a teammate, it's my objective to be near him because he knows how I drive, so he knows that he's safe around me, and try to get him to the win without trying to push him, but trying to give him the position and the spots possible so he can go and get further down in the chase. And it's very exciting to have Brian Terry at the chase, and cannot wait to see what he's going to be able to show the Aegis team.
All right, and Brandon, being a first-year driver, is making the chase even something that's on your radar? Are you just saying, I want to try to make as many races as I can and get good finishes, or are you saying, hey, I want to try to steal one of these if I can?
Definitely coming into the season, I certainly thought top 20 and making the chase was something that was achievable. Circumstances have not played out that way. I found myself in a lot of accidents, not really my doing, just wrong place, wrong time. And given my position in the points, chances are I'm not going to point my way in. So my goal was really to get to the end and get some strong finishes to get to the top 20 to be able to practice on some of the long runs. But, of course, if I'm in a position to steal one, I'm definitely going to throw the house at it and try to make something happen if I'm ever in position to do that. Thought I was at Kansas, but, again, wrong place, wrong time. But, yeah, definitely, if I'm in a top 5, top 10 coming to the end of the race, definitely going to try to make something happen.
All right, and Michael Dewell, you were somebody that was sitting outside the top 20 at the first part of the season, had to qualify for races. You kind of hung around that bubble. You've moved solidly into 17th place now, and you're looking at a role where you're probably going to be locked into a few races. How does that change how you go attack these tracks in practice and maybe try to line yourself up for a potential chase spot?
Well, it's for starters, the level of competition has skyrocketed just in this year because, number one, like you said, it's hard to qualify, missing the races by a tenth or thousandth or whatever. That's crazy. I've never heard of a lot of leagues out there that have so many interests that they have to have a separate qualifying session. That's unheard of to me. So anyway, what I try to do every week is, now that I'm not worried about the qualifying part of it, I know that I'm locked in. Now I can start worrying about just finishes. The way it's worked out for me personally, I'm not really thinking about the chase. I'm thinking about your Charlotte next week. I'm thinking about Pocono, your Michigan, your Summer Swing, just the race-by-race aspects of what I have to do to get a solid finish, and the points will follow after that. And so by doing that, I'm hoping that it'll take a little pressure off of me worrying about the chase, and instead just kind of let itself work itself out and just see what happens.
All right, and Jacob, one thing I want to talk about is the wild card in this whole situation is going to be Sonoma and Watkins Glen, 2 road course races where all hell kind of breaks loose, and maybe a driver that usually isn't running up towards the front on ovals. You've been around in this league for a long time. Who can we maybe expect on a road course to maybe surprise some people and maybe get one of those elusive wins?
As somebody who's trying to make the chase, I'm just hoping Busa shows up for both races and I won't have to worry about it. Usually he pretty much dominates those. So that's one. I'm trying to remember back to last year's road races as who was up front. I think you actually have a few guys who are really good in the ovals who do well with the with the road races as well. I think Fash usually does pretty well. He's just good everywhere. If I remember correctly, William Dunn, who's one of my teammates, did relatively well last year. Like I said, but it really honestly, if Busa shows up, we're just racing for second. I think is what it amounts to, and because he dominates when it comes to these road courses. I tend to do okay on him. I've already done a couple of laps at Watkins Glen just to kind of see what I would be getting myself into, and I do know that tire conservation is going to be a big deal there. Given wheel spin and things like that, it's pretty hard to control. But yeah, I mean, they really are wild card races. Anything can happen. Going up through the S's, I know a couple years that I've done either in our own league or another league. You go up through the S's, and if there's somebody at the top of the hill wrecked, you can have a massive pile of cars, wrecked, and whoever makes it out of there, you could be in the top 10 or racing for a win before you know it. So anything can happen, definitely in those races. But I think that really, going back to a point Marcus made, if one or two things happen, it really opens it up for the whole field to have a chance at a win, because there are basically 25, 30 guys who can win each week, except for, say if, even if Andrew is in a race or Boost or something like that. I mean, there's still guys that can compete with him. I think you've seen Marcus do it. You've seen his teammate Nick do it. And there's several other guys who I think would fall in that category. So it's just, any given week is really what it amounts to, and you just got to be at the right place at the right time.
All right, and really quickly before we close the show for the night, let's go ahead and look a little forward towards Charlotte. There's been a couple of all-star races that have been hosted, but everybody's trying to get ready for the longest race of the Integrity Racing League season when we go to Charlotte for 300 miles. Carlos, I'm not sure if you've run any any laps at Charlotte so far to kind of get prepared to get that hot lap video out to the members. What have you kind of noticed at Charlotte this year?
Tight. That's all I can say. It's tight. That's all the setup seems to be. But I don't know. Charlotte's probably my best track. You see if they're qualifying that we did in the All-Star, was it Monday night? With well, I was just as quick as Fayosh was, but he busted out that. Who knows how? I don't know how he busted out that 5 that he put down, but yeah. Anyways, and one thing too about Charlotte, you can run next to the wall if you know how. So that's pretty much what I.
Yeah, Marcus, I don't know if you've turned any laps there. You're one of the faster guys in the league. What's some advice that you maybe would give to somebody that hasn't run a lot of laps at Charlotte and is trying to get better there?
I mentioned practicing earlier for races that are in the chase, but I have not turned a single Charlotte lap yet, mainly because I despise cookie cutters. I cannot stand them. I'm not looking forward to Texas or Chicagoland or Charlotte or any of those races. Those are just races where I just chop it up to I just have to be able to hang onto the car and somehow get a top 15, top 10, because my better tracks are the Martinsvilles, the Phoenixes, or the super speedways, or maybe some of the weird tracks like a Pocono. But I have not turned a single lap at Charlotte yet, so you are asking the wrong person for advice when it comes to speed there.
All right. And Jacob, you took part in the All-Star race that was hosted by Brendan Kohler earlier this week. And one thing that I noticed is it's really easy to kind of pin somebody down on that bottom with that high lane. You can kind of run side by side here. It's not necessarily a one-groove racetrack. What did you see? I know there was a little bit of a different set there, but what did you see from the racing at Charlotte? I know you've probably turned some laps. Talk about the 300 miles that we're going to run here in a few nights.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a few things through the All-Star race we did at Charlotte. One, pit strategy is going to be a major issue throughout the night. Tire management is going to be a big issue, and then really setting drivers up to make passes. I think you really have to plan a lap or two at the end, or a lap or two in advance to really get your way around someone, and work either whatever line you're going to choose. You really have to set them up and make sure if you're going to be on the bottom, you really need to make sure you can clear that person, because if you can't, then that person is going to have a run, to get past you, and then it might allow somebody else to have a run, and you actually lose positions instead of gain. So I think, unlike recent years at Charlotte, I think the track is really going to set it up to where it's going to be really a chess match to try to give people, set people up and make moves in different lines and different portions of the track, and then how do you play pit strategy in coordination with that to bring yourself to a good finish.
All right, so Monday night, 300 laps around Charlotte. I'm the sponsor. We might change the race name. Jacob and I are in intense negotiation mode to see what the race name might be for Monday night. But we want to see you there Monday night. Hopefully we have a great turnout. We have a racetrack that a lot of people really enjoy. It's a fun racetrack to drive. Everybody loves the Coke 600 and the feel of Charlotte around the racetrack at night. So want to see you Monday night. Hopefully we'll get another good turnout. So thanks for joining us for episode 6 of the Integrity Racing Show. Thanks to our guests, Brandon Kirkman, Julio Terzado, Marcus Lambert, Michael Dewell, Carlos Fonseca, myself, and then, of course, Jacob Fyfe. Thanks to everybody that joined us tonight for the roundtable. We'll see you next Thursday night at 8 o'clock again for episode 7 of the Integrity Racing Show. Have a good night, everybody.